If you were prettier, I would have married you already. That sentence felt like a blade straight to my heart. I was sitting across from him at the restaurant, frozen in disbelief, while he leaned back in his chair, smirking faintly as he lifted his wine glass. He said it casually, almost playfully, without the slightest awareness of how deeply it cut. The lighting was dim and warm, the air thick and still. On the table sat everything I had carefully prepared for this night, his favorite dishes, his favorite wine, the candles I'd chosen to make things special. Even the wedding plans I'd been sketching for weeks were in my purse. Tonight was supposed to be our 5-year anniversary celebration. But with one careless sentence, he destroyed everything I thought we had. My heart pounded violently in my chest. The man sitting before me, the man I had loved, trusted, and imagined a future with, had just made me realize how small I really was in his world. I gripped my wine glass so tightly my fingers trembled, but I forced myself to stay calm. I looked straight into his eyes and asked, "What do you mean by that?" He didn't even hesitate. He shrugged, smiling as if it were nothing serious. "Just what I said. I mean, you're great and all. But if you were a little prettier, maybe I'd be more motivated to do something about it." A sharp ache rose in my chest. His tone was light, teasing even, but it hit me like a slap. I stared at him in silence for a few seconds before I asked quietly, "So that's what you think of me? That I'm not pretty enough to be your wife?" He looked back down at his drink, flipping through the menu as if we weren't even having this conversation. "You're being too sensitive," he said. "It's just a joke. Don't take it so seriously." I laughed, but there was no humor in it, only pain and disbelief. "A joke?" I echoed softly. "You think breaking someone's heart is funny?" He sighed impatiently. "You always overreact. I can't even say anything without you turning it into drama." That was it. Something inside me snapped. I placed the glass down, stood up, and said, my voice shaking with fury, "Then maybe you should stop saying things you don't mean." Or maybe I leaned closer, my eyes cold, "You should finally admit that you just don't love me anymore." He blinked, startled by my tone, but stayed silent. So I turned around and walked out, the sound of my heels echoing against the restaurant floor, leaving him sitting there, confused, expressionless. When I got home, I dropped my bag on the floor and sat on the bed, staring blankly at the wall. The words replayed over and over in my mind, "If you were prettier." 5 years. 5 years of adjusting myself to fit his preferences, the clothes he liked, the makeup he liked, even the way I laughed. I'd given up so much of myself trying to be enough. And tonight, I realized that no matter what I did, it would never be enough. A few days later, while cleaning up the living room, I noticed his phone buzzing on the table. A message popped up. "Good morning, smiling face with smiling eyes," from Mary. Mary, the new project manager. The woman he'd been talking about lately, the one who made him laugh at work again. Something inside me went cold. I opened the messages. Their conversation was light, playful, and full of emojis. He told her jokes he never told me. He shared stories about his day, about stress, about dreams. And every time she replied with kindness, his answers were warm, too warm. I knew, even if he hadn't slept with her, he'd already left me. That night, I sat in the dark, staring at his name on my phone screen. Then, without hesitating, I dialed hers. She picked up quickly, sounding cautious. "Hello." "It's me," I said quietly. "We need to talk." There was a pause. "About what?" "You know what," I replied. "You and him." She hesitated. "There's nothing going on between us," she said quickly. "We just work together." "Really?" I asked, my tone flat. You think I'm that naive? She was silent for a few seconds, then spoke softly. He talks about you sometimes, she said. He says you're amazing, that you take care of everything. But he also says it's hard to connect with you now. Her voice was calm, but her words hit harder than she knew. He had not only betrayed me, he had rewritten our story to make himself the victim. I thanked her, hung up, and sat still for a long time. The grief felt heavy now, not sharp. Like a final curtain closing. In the days that followed, I said nothing. I smiled when he spoke. I cooked dinner. I pretended everything was fine. But inside, I was preparing for the end. Then one evening, he came home late, looking exhausted. He stood in the doorway, eyes red. I know I hurt you, he said quietly. I'm sorry. Can we start over? I looked at him for a long time, searching for something: remorse, honesty, maybe love. But all I saw was fear. Start over. I repeated. My voice was calm, but cold. You think you still deserve that? He stepped forward, desperate. I do love you. I didn't know how to handle things. I didn't want to end up like my father, broken, stuck, miserable. I cut him off. You're not afraid of being like your father. You're afraid of facing yourself. He froze. You don't get to use fear as an excuse, I said, voice steady. You hurt me because you could. You thought I'd never leave. He looked down, his shoulders trembling. I don't want to lose you. I shook my head. You already did. His breath hitched. Please. I'll change. I swear. I smiled faintly, but there was no warmth in it. You've been saying that for years. Silence fell between us, heavy and final. I picked up my bag, walked toward the door, and stopped just long enough to say one last thing. You'll never get another chance. My voice echoed through the empty apartment as I closed the door behind me. He didn't follow. I heard later that he'd broken down after I left, calling, begging, crying. But I never answered. He had lost me, not just the woman he loved, but the version of himself he used to be when he had my forgiveness. And me? For the first time in years, I wasn't the woman trying to prove she was enough. I was finally free from his words, from his pity, from the smallness he made me feel. I was free to be me.